How many players in the NBA can do this?
Kuminga with the right hand. Oh, goodness gracious.
What just happened?
Correction, how many players can do this to the same team in 2 different games?
Kuminga down the lane.
Can we just pause this for a second? Look where he takes off from. Look at the elevation. In a league full of athletes, Jonathan Kuminga is one of the very best. And that's not the only reason his potential is so intriguing. What if I told you Jonathan Kuminga has the potential to be one of the very best defenders in the league? Just watch this. Here he is switching from Nickeil Alexander-Walker to Jordan Clarkson. And watch JK hunt Clarkson before blocking his shot, grabbing the ball, and causing Clarkson to lose his mind because of the physicality and execution of that defense. Or how about on this play where Jonathan Kuminga is guarding Darius Garland 25 feet from the basket. Garland gets a slight step, but JK recovers, and because of his size, Garland tries to create separation with a bump, but ends up bumping himself off balance, forcing a miss. But these aren't just 2 isolated examples. The stats back it up as well. B-Ball Index uses statistics to rank the top wing defenders in isolation situations. Some of those names you would be familiar with. Mikal Bridges was ranked 4th, OG Anunoby 5th, Andrew Wiggins 7th, and at 3rd, Jonathan Kuminga. On a list filled with all defensive players, JK ranked 3rd in isolation defense. And there's one thing these guys all have in common. They can switch multiple positions. It's a rare combination of strength to guard big wings and foot speed to guard point guards. I already showed you what he can do against some of these shiftier players, but Kuminga is also strong. Very strong. Look no further than him switching onto Jaren Jackson Jr., absorbing 2 bumps before then contesting his hook shot and forcing a miss. Or how about this play where he's initially guarding Edwards? He switches the pick, Reed hits him with a spin, but JK has the sleight of hand to slap it away from him as he's on the way up. And if you need any more indication of just how talented Kuminga is defensively, this is what Draymond Green had to say. I have no doubt in my mind that he can check just about anybody. He has the size, has the strength, has the quickness, has the length. Everything you want in a defender, he kind of has. There's just one thing missing that's stopping JK from being one of the best defenders in the league. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about his offense. If you were to just look at his numbers from last year to this year, you might think it was a disappointing season, but that's far from the truth. The reality is, Kuminga just had a slow start to the year. At one point, he was even getting DNPs, which coincided in him only averaging 5 points on poor efficiency through his first 20 games. However, that's when things changed. With Andrew Wiggins missing a lot of time, JK got more opportunity, and over his last 47 games, he averaged 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists on really good efficiency, which is particularly impressive when you consider absolutely no plays were run for him. And that's why you can't compare him to players on struggling teams that get so much opportunity. However, despite not getting much self-creation opportunity, JK's understanding of the game took a big leap. It felt like he started to figure out where he needed to be and when he needed to be in those places, consistently making cuts at the right times, leveraging Steph's gravity to get open looks. And with his level of explosiveness, alongside the playmaking of Steph and now CP3, well, he's going to get good looks. And speaking of CP3, Draymond said what we were all thinking.
I think Chris Paul will completely unlock Jonathan Kuminga and his growth.
Now, we already know what Chris Paul brings to the Dubs. They finally have a legit playmaker off the bench that will be looking to set up others. JP did some great things, but he was a score-first guard. Chris Paul is going to give the likes of Kuminga and Moody twice as many opportunities as any other backup point guard in the league. And you might be thinking Kuminga's a little bit too small to run the pick and roll consistently. Well, if you want any idea of what he can do in the pick and roll, watch this play, where Dante threads the needle and at full speed, JK contorts around one of the best shot blockers in the league. There's only one other player on the Warriors roster that has this kind of ability to attack downhill, and that's Andrew Wiggins. Not to mention he can catch lobs, or like I showed you, he can make passes if the defense presses up. And this is the real reason I'm still high on Kuminga's offense, is because alongside the athleticism and who he's going to be playing with, he shows glimpses of a feel for the game that you don't always see. Like here against Marshall, where he drives aggressively, spins, and then a beautiful pump fake to get to the rim. Or how about his passing? Watch this play where Jerome kicks it to him. He beats the first defender, and in midair, he makes the adjustment from layup to pass. He even showed off some short roll potential, making this dime to Loon after JP got trapped. Just forget about the fact Jonathan Kuminga is only 20 years old on a veteran team. If the Dubs are going to keep him around, they need him to make an impact. And that's not because of where he was drafted, it's because offensively, no one else can do the things he does, aside from Andrew Wiggins and occasionally GP2 as well. So you guys are probably wondering why he didn't play in the playoffs if he showed off all this potential and the Warriors need his skill set so badly. Well, it's pretty simple really. It's the three-point shooting. Despite shooting 37% from three and over 40% over the second half of the year, opposition teams were still, well, they were doing this. And when you already have Dre, Loon, and GP2, there is quite literally no room for anyone else to be a non-shooter from three-point range, which is a little unfortunate for Kuminga because he does have so many other attributes that he can bring to the table, but that's just the reality if he's going to be successful in this team. Now, this is the part of the video where I show you what JK has been doing in the offseason. I know offseason videos can be misleading. Ben Simmons, but if these clips are anything to go by, his release looks quicker and smoother, particularly off the move, which is something we haven't really seen him do. We've only really seen set shots from him. Now, with all of that being said, this wasn't the only reason that JK's minutes dwindled in the playoffs. Despite already being a great on-ball defender, like most young players, he can get lost at times off the ball. But if he can figure out how to consistently not just stay engaged, but make legitimate impacts off the ball, the defensive ceiling is scarily high. I mean, watch this play where he gets caught up on a screen, and it looks like Edwards has a clean layup, right? Yeah, JK soars in and swats it whilst it's still on the way up. It's normally a good indication of how athletic a player is when the opposition players are calling it goaltending when it quite clearly was not. Not to mention his ability to close out on shooters when it looks like an impossible play to make. When I say impossible, I don't want to exaggerate, but how many guys can do things like this? Right here is Jonathan Kuminga guarding Josh Hart. On the other side of the floor, you will see the Blazers with a 3-on-2 situation. Hart kicks it to Simons, who kicks it to Grant. And let me pause right here. As far as the NBA goes, that is as wide open as you can be, right? Somehow JK manages to get out and contest the shot, just doing enough to throw him off. And the potential for him to fly around the court, disrupting shots at the rim and from three-point range is a skill set that couldn't be more important than right now. All in all, the time is now for JK and the Dubs. Anyways, if you want to hear about the Dubs draft steal, click here. Or if you want to hear about a potential JP replacement, click here. Either way, most importantly, have a nice day. Bye.